Hello, friend. A quick hello before the masterclass starts. If you're successful on paper and you're burnt out in real life, this masterclass is for you. The next 80 minutes is a conversation I've been wanting to have. So watch it whole, bring a journal, and when something lands, write it down. And be sure to download the companion workbook as well. It's such a meaningful one. So buckle up, enjoy the masterclass. You're going to get so much out of it. All right, blessings to you with love and thank you. Hello friends, welcome to my masterclass on becoming fearless, stress-free and unshakable in your business and in your personal lives. I'm Pauline, and if you're here with me right now, chances are you're not just tired, you're exhausted. You've pushed, you've powered through, you've tried to stay positive, but deep down, you're flat, burnt out, maybe even numb. And you're not alone. You're not even close to being alone. You're not crazy. You're not broken. And this isn't just in your head. Now, if I had to guess, I say you've tried just about everything to fix this, right? Mindset coaching, daily affirmations, therapy, exercise, more self-help books than you can count. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Maybe you've also tried ice baths, breath work, meditation, plant medicine. You've biohacked, journaled, visualized, optimized, and yet here you are, still stuck. Still asking, why isn't this working for me? Maybe you've even started wondering, is this just how life is? Well, before I go any further, I want to make something abundantly clear. This isn't your lot. This isn't just how life is. And no, your current reality is not set in stone. You can feel clear again. You can feel joy again. And you can feel like you again. But it doesn't start with mindset work. It starts with the body. More specifically, it starts with your subconscious. It starts with your nervous system. Your subconscious mind begins forming before you're even consciously aware of it. From the moment you're born to about age 7, your brain is operating primarily in theta brainwave state, which is basically this hypnotic state where you're absorbing everything without any critical filtering. And it's during these formative years, every experience, every reaction from your caregivers, every emotional response you witness, it becomes deeply encoded in your neural pathways. It's not just psychological, it's neurobiological imprinting. Buddha said it best. What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. You see, our subconscious minds are like icebergs. 95% of it sits below the surface, out of your conscious awareness. But that 95% controls almost everything. Your automatic reactions, your habits, even controls how your cells respond to stress. Now, I'll give you a quick example of what I mean. Have you ever found yourself reacting to a situation in a way that felt so instant, so automatic, like the reaction came out of nowhere, like almost outside of your control? Maybe you froze during a confrontation, or you got defensive when someone gave you feedback. That's not a character flaw. That's your subconscious running a protection program that was coded decades ago. Now, your conscious mind could be telling you to stay calm, but your subconscious is already executing emergency protocol foxtrot with a flood of stress hormones before you even know what's happening. People will tell you to just think positive. Try to push through. But what if I told you this approach is literally working against your biology? What if your body is speaking a completely different language than your mindset coaches? See, most conventional approaches are top-down. They assume your mind is in charge. They assume that your nervous system is regulated and still online. They assume that you're thinking clearly, that you can make decisions, that you regulate yourself, and you can plan your way out of all this chaos. But if your body is trapped in survival mode, that's fight, flight, or freeze, no top-down approach will serve you because your system isn't open to change. It's just trying to keep you alive. Now, what if I took it a step further? What if I told you that your stress isn't just inside your mind? What if I told you that your stress is actually a biochemical addiction, an addiction that your body has developed over time? Now, your nervous system has become chemically and chronically addicted to the hormone of stress. In other words, this is why your nervous system is set to constantly feel burnout, fatigued, and irritated, which is why willpower alone has never been enough to make lasting change. Well, this biological addiction works on the same neural pathways as substance dependencies. Yes, your subconscious mind has learned to interpret stress chemicals as normal. It's creating a familiarity bias. And this is why you still feel stuck, even though you say you've tried everything. So even when you consciously desired peace, your subconscious may actually be sabotaging your efforts by craving the very chemicals that are exhausting you. Here's a little statistic to put things into perspective. Did you know that 75 to 90% of people who walk into a healthcare facility in the West are here because of emotional or psychological stress? Stress, not illness, not infection. Here's the crazy thing about stress. Most people don't just live with it, they are addicted to it. Their bodies are literally chemically dependent on the hormone, the adrenaline, the cortisol, the pressure. And so they need that toxic job. They need those constant fires to put out. They need the relationship that makes them feel like they're always walking on eggshells. They need all of it just to feel normal. You probably know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling when 5 cups of coffee don't even make a dent anymore? When your motivation has completely flatlined? When you smile for the Zoom call, then immediately collapse when the camera turns off? That's not laziness. That's your nervous system sending out an SOS. That's a subconscious mind trapped in a doom loop. I see it all the time, especially in high performers. From the outside, everything looks fine. Their business is successful, all the boxes are ticked, their life is built. But on the inside, exhaustion, disconnection, a constant addiction to the very things that are making them sick and unhappy. And so, if that's you, if you feel like you've tried everything, but still nothing seems to work, you're in the right place. Because in this masterclass, I'm going to walk you down a very different path, one that isn't centered around trying to stay positive. Today, you're going to learn how to reset your biological baseline, repattern your subconscious, and get your body back into homeostasis. I'll show you how stress hijacks your biology, why your nervous system stays stuck even when your mind says, I'm fine, as well as the most efficient way to rewire your subconscious from the bottom up so you can start living the way you want to and being the person you've always wanted to be. Now, this is work that I've done with hundreds of business owners, executives, leaders, creatives, and even parents who were functional on the outside, but internally they were hanging on by a thread. And it's the underlying structure of what I teach inside Numinous, my 90-day program, Transformational Growth Strategies for the Spiritual Entrepreneur. But I'm not about to sell you on that, because that would be abrupt, awkward, and a little too salesy. So I'll save that sort of talk for later. Let's dive right into the masterclass then, shall we? Now, we're going to go real deep, real fast. So let's talk about why it's so hard to change, even when you know something has to change. You've read the books, you've listened to the podcast, you've journaled, you've worked with therapists, you've taken all the courses, and most importantly, you've become aware of all your patterns. So why do you keep falling back into them? Because awareness isn't enough to create transformation. Insight isn't integration. Becoming conscious is great, but you can know exactly what you want to do and still not feel like doing it. Aristotle once said, "We are what we do repeatedly. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit." Now, let me reiterate. It's not a willpower issue. It's not because you're lazy. And it's not because you don't want it bad enough. It's because your nervous system is still calling the shots and your subconscious is okay with that. Let's walk through what's happening in your body right now. So when you feel stressed, your adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals trigger your heart to beat faster, your breathing becomes shallow, and your muscles tighten. Now, over time, your body begins so accustomed to these chemicals that it starts to feel uncomfortable without them. It's like when a coffee drinker gets a headache when they haven't had their morning fix. Your body is literally going through withdrawal when you try to relax, because it's been trained for years, maybe even decades, to react, think, and feel a certain way. And that training has become your default setting. And so no matter how much mindset work you do, if your body doesn't feel safe, it won't let you shift out of default. Think of your nervous system like a car that's been idling at 7,000 RPM for years. When you take your foot off the gas, the engine doesn't know how to return to normal idle. It's just stuck in high gear. So trying to relax feels impossible when you've been stuck in this state for so long. Now, let's look at what's happening beneath the surface. Let's look at stress. Because whether you want to believe it or not, your nervous system is addicted to it. And not in the I love being busy kind of way either. I mean, it's chemically addicted, like drugs. Now, every time you feel that familiar hit of stress, your body throws a huge cocktail party of hormones. Cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, and guess what? The chemical bartender is always so very generous, he never cuts you off. If you go on a hormone bender occasionally, fine, no problem, you'll live. But constantly, if you're always stuck in go, fix, response, survival mode, those chemicals become your baseline. And research has shown that people can become so addicted to the chemicals of stress that they unconsciously create situations to get their fix. Their brain becomes wired to look for more problems, to create more drama, to stay more busy, not because they want to suffer, but because their biology demands those familiar chemicals. Keep it up long enough and you're headed for disease, because no organism can live in emergency mode for extended periods. Eventually you stop responding to stress because your body just needs it to feel normal. Now let's go back to your subconscious. Every experience, every word spoken to you, every emotional response you witnessed, it all got coded into your subconscious, creating these automatic patterns that now run without your conscious input. These aren't just psychological patterns, they're neurobiological imprints. Your subconscious programming even shapes the neuropathways in your brain, the hormones your body releases, the genes that get expressed in your cells. That's why affirmations alone don't work. You're trying to override deep subconscious programming with conscious thoughts. Now, during deep hypnotic theta state between the ages of 0 to 7, you absorb all these beliefs without any filter. You accept fear as fact, you shape your identity by copying others, and then you grow up and unknowingly manifest from that programming. But your subconscious mind, it isn't a mystery, you know. It's a memory bank. And so unless you update the beliefs that were wired into you before age 7, your subconscious becomes your attractor field. You'll continually manifest from survival rather than growth. It's why some people feel so calm in chaos, but so anxious in stillness. It's not dysfunction. It's just what their body has come to expect. Now, I want to try something with you right now. I want you to close your eyes. Go on. I want you to take a deep inhale in. Go ahead. I want you to locate where tension is sitting inside your body. Scan your body now. Is the tension in your jaw, your stomach, your shoulders? Now I want you to slowly inhale. That physical tension you found, where is it in your body? It's not psychological. It's your body maintaining chemical consistency, which gets locked in your connective tissue in your fascia. And so until you address the subconscious pattern that's running it, all the positive thinking in the world won't fix it, So what comes next? Well, we start to unconsciously recreate the environment our body knows best to reinforce those subconscious patterns. We delay deadlines. We pick fights. We overbook our calendars. We sabotage our rest. Again, not because we want to suffer, but because our biology is trying to feel normal. Still with me? Yes? Okay, cool. Let's keep going then. Back to stress. It doesn't just live in your body. It also becomes part of your identity, part of your hardware, part of your operating system, even part of your personality. Maybe you find yourself saying things like, this is just the way I am. I don't do calm. I work better under pressure. I'll rest when I'm dead. Nod if you've ever heard yourself say any of these things. Well, these aren't personality traits. They are protective responses. And over time, these protective responses don't just shape how you behave. They physically rewire your brain. Lao Tzu, an ancient Chinese philosopher, said, watch your thoughts because they become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. And so this isn't just emotional, it's biological, it's very real. Research from Stanford and Harvard has shown that prolonged stress physically changes the structure of your brain. The amygdala, your brain's alarm system, becomes hyperactive, while the prefrontal cortex, your rational thinking center, becomes suppressed. This is neuroplasticity working against you. It's the result of a nervous system constantly on edge and a brain that's been shaped by stress. Now, here's what happens when an emotional event occurs, especially something painful. Your brain takes a snapshot. The more emotionally charged the event, the stronger the memory. Neuroscientists call this long-term memory. It's basically the brain's way of saying, wow, that was intense. Please don't forget that anytime soon. Now, every time you remember that moment, guess what happens? You're not just rethinking it, you're reliving it. And on average, our bodies produce the same negative chemical state between 50 to 100 times a day. Stress, fear, guilt, grief. Even if the event happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, your subconscious mind and your nervous system will continue to relive it based on that addiction to feeling that emotional response. And here's the wild part. 50% of our memories aren't even accurate. That means you might be looping through an emotional state built on a false memory, which is reinforced by a real chemical pattern. That's a lot to process, I know. Which is why you can think you're fine, but you still feel stuck in emergency mode. Because you're not just thinking your thoughts. Your subconscious and your nervous system are doing the thinking for you. And as far as your nervous system is concerned, it only has but one job: to keep you safe. Not fulfilled or inspired or joyful, just safe. And so it locks you into what's familiar, yes? The same emotions, the same reactions, the same cycles over and over and over to keep you safe. Now let's go even deeper. Your nervous system operates in one of two modes: survival and creation. Now we already covered survival. That's driven by fear, reactivity, short-term thinking. It's your brain trying to predict the future by using the past. It's always scanning what's familiar, what's safe, what went wrong before. It's your analytical mind, your beta brainwave state. On the other hand, creation mode is a completely different neurological state. It's slower, it's more calm, it's more coherent, and it opens up access to your alpha, theta, and even gamma brainwave states, all of which are responsible for reprogramming, repatterning the subconscious, and amplifying your intuition, leading to big transformations and change, like the ones we talked about earlier. In creation mode, you stop living in the known past and you step into the unknown future. Now, the unknown doesn't mean a dice roll. It doesn't equate to danger. It means the unpredictable. It means the unfamiliar choices. It means being open to infinite possibility. New thoughts, new emotional patterns, a new identity. And that's exactly why it feels so uncomfortable at first. Because the body is addicted to what's predictable, even if it's painful. So when you step into creation mode for the first time, when you stop reacting in the same old way, you're going to feel some immediate resistance, right? That's normal. And here's the simplest way that I can explain it. Your body is going through physical withdrawals from the chemicals that it's so used to, the cortisol, adrenaline, stress hormones, withdrawal from the subconscious identity it's rehearsed for decades. Because a man is literally what he thinks. His character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. And it's true. You're going to feel withdrawals because you'll be fighting the very thoughts that shaped you over your entire life. Now, here's the predictable pattern it follows. First, you'll experience the uncomfortable withdrawal symptoms that we discussed. Then comes the release, often felt as crying, shaking, or even spontaneous laughter. And this is followed by a void or an emptiness where the old emotions used to live. And finally, you experience elevation, a new emotional state that takes residence now. It's important to understand this process so that you can better navigate it when it arrives. This is biology. It's not mindset or mood. It's your nervous system recalibrating, your subconscious programming repatterning, your brain moving from known place into a state where possibility lives. And this is often where the majority of people quit. They'll tell you it's not working because they feel uncomfortable right before they go back to the old, familiar, unhealthy habits that they hate, even if the familiar is the very thing keeping them sick or stuck. Now, relapse isn't a sign of failure. Just like discomfort isn't a sign that it's not working, it is working. You're changing. And the withdrawal symptoms are super normal because your biology is so loyal to your past. But there comes a price with loyalty. That price is loss of energy. See, every time you ruminate over something that you can't change or rehearse arguments in your head or you obsess over the past or catastrophize about the future, you burn energy, you burn fuel. Mental, emotional, physical fuel. And the longer you stay in that loop, the more depleted you're going to feel. A great way to break this sort of cycle is through cultivating the discipline for this one very simple practice. Are you ready? Every morning, before you get out of bed, before your feet even hit the floor, close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe into your heart. And with intention, take some time. Take some time to first recognize and identify your current thoughts and emotions. What are they? And then decide who you want to be today. And then mentally rehearse the behaviors of that person. The third step, to flood your body with the elixir of gratitude for your future before it is even made manifest as this person you want to become. Step 4, consciously design how you'll respond to any potential triggers for the day. And step 5, continue to mentally rehearse those behaviors so that when you need it, it's there. This simple routine retrains your subconscious and your nervous system before the day's stresses even begin. Because no amount of green smoothies, productivity hacks, or positive thinking can fix your internal and external state, especially not when your system is already fried. Now, I've got some great news. If the body can be trained into survival mode, it can be trained into creative mode. It can be trained into inspiration, clarity, coherence, and power. But before we move on, let's do a quick recap of what we've covered so far. You're not broken. You're just stuck in survival mode. Stress has become your body's chemical baseline and it's addictive. Your identity, thoughts, and memories are shaped by outdated emotional loops. You can't access inspiration, clarity, or intuition from a dysregulated state. And if your body can be trained into stress, it can be trained out of it. Are you still with me? Yes, yes? So, we've talked about why you're stuck. Now we'll talk about how to get unstuck. Because once you understand the system that's been running the show, you can start to influence it. And I don't just mean influence your thoughts. I mean influence your biology, your emotions, your automatic responses, your future. Now, you have 3 brains that work simultaneously. Your thinking brain, the neocortex that understands concepts, your emotional brain, the limbic system that processes feelings, and your subconscious brain, the cerebellum that runs the automated programs. We need to engage all 3 brains if we want to make any transformation stick. Now, your body is a fantastic learner. It's incredibly intelligent, but believe it or not, it doesn't speak English. It speaks chemistry. So every time you feel something intensely, whether it's stress, anger, guilt, shame, your body logs that chemistry and it says, this is how we're supposed to feel. Let me help you recreate this every single day. Hello, emotional addiction. And just like sugar or caffeine, your body begins to crave those chemical patterns, even if they're harmful. That's why people keep attracting the same kind of partner. They feel the same frustration at work every day, or react in the same way when life gets tough. It's not always unresolved trauma, you see. Sometimes it's simply what the body expects. Now, let me try to paint a picture for you. Your emotional reactions, they're like different trails in the forest. The more you walk the angry when misunderstood path, the freeze under pressure path, or the keep pushing even when I'm exhausted path, the deeper that trail goes and the more used to taking that path you will become. This is how your neural pathways are formed. If you want to change how you feel, behave, and respond, you have to walk an entirely different new trail. Every day, consciously, repeatedly. Now let's solidify this with a pattern interrupt exercise right now. You can choose one habit or reaction that you'd like to change. Go on. Maybe it's checking your phone when you feel uncomfortable or tensing your shoulders when you're stressed. Perhaps you can take 3 deep breaths instead. Or perhaps you can do 3 star jumps instead. For the remainder of this masterclass, I want you to catch yourself every time you're about to react in an old way. And become conscious and choose the new response instead. This activity is a prime example of how to rewire your neural pathways. It's known as neuroplasticity. Your brain can rewire itself, but only when your body feels safe enough to do so. But if your system is still in survival mode, your subconscious will instantly reject the new wiring. So let's move on. There was a controlled study done with Wim Hof, the Iceman, where he allowed scientists to inject him with a bacterial endotoxin, something that would make the average human very, very sick for several hours. But through breath work, subconscious repatterning, and control over his own nervous system, he was able to suppress his immune response completely. No fever, no nausea, no symptoms. Now you might be thinking right now, okay, Pauline, he's just a freak of nature. Well, maybe. But the study went a step further and had him teach a group of total beginners the very same methods he used to suppress his own immune response. And within a few days, they too showed no signs of symptoms when they were injected. So why does this matter? It matters because it proves that the autonomic nervous system isn't fully automatic. You can absolutely influence it. You can train your subconscious to respond differently to pain, stress, disease through safe, repetitive, deliberate state shifts. See, the brain can't distinguish between intense mental rehearsal and the actual experience itself. You know when Olympic athletes visualize their perfect performance? They create the exact same neural firing as when they physically perform. And so we can use this same principle to rehearse being our future selves, right? 20 minutes of deliberate mental rehearsal can create physical changes in your brain that is equivalent to months of actual experience. Now, let me give you another example of the power of the subconscious. A war veteran loses his leg in combat. Years later, he still feels the pain in that missing limb. This phenomenon is called phantom limb pain. Even though the leg's gone, his nervous system keeps sending pain signals to the brain. Now, it wasn't until his brain received new information through mirror box therapy that a new neural pathway was formed in his subconscious that told his nervous system that it could relax. As a result, the pain disappeared immediately. Now, let's think about this together. If your body can hold pain from something that's no longer there, what else might it be holding on to? I want you to take a moment to really think about that. Holding on to old rejection, abandonment, shame, a breakup from 10 years ago. If that emotional limb hasn't been updated, if your nervous system hasn't shown you a new map, if your subconscious is still running an outdated pattern, then your biology might still be reacting to something that isn't even happening anymore. And that is when the body becomes the mind. It doesn't wait for your permission. It runs the same program until you're able to consciously disrupt it. And so how do we disrupt it? By overpowering the subconscious with your conscious mind. So this sounds a little contradictory, I know, but this ties back to motivation and willpower. See, your subconscious mind processes about 40 million bits of information per second, right? Your conscious mind, just 40. It's not a fair fight, right? Not even close. Now, you can't override the subconscious with willpower. You can only rewire it through state-dependent experience, meaning you can't just think a new belief. You have to feel it. You have to move with it. You have to breathe it like it's already true. The feeling is the secret. If you can make the unfamiliar feel familiar, your body will start to trust it. And this is why somatic work is so effective, because it speaks directly to the operating system. Do you want to stop looping an emotion? Don't sit there trying to think your way out of it. Interrupt it. Move. Breathe. Change state. Do something to let your body know, hey, this moment is different. And once the body starts learning that it's safe to feel something new, you've got leverage. To quote one of my favorite spiritual scientists, Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Are you still following? If you are, nod that you're still with me. Yes, yes. I know that we've been moving through this stuff pretty fast. There's a lot we probably won't get through in this masterclass, but let's take a step back for a second. Remember how I mentioned earlier that the body stores emotion? Not in a woo-woo type of way, but in a neurobiological way. A lot of people think that their thoughts are the problem, the overthinking, the anxiety, the mental spirals, but what they don't realize is that it's not the thoughts themselves. It's the reaction beneath the thoughts. Every craving, every resistance, every suppressed scream, all of them are stored in your body. They're stored as ancient imprints of unfinished experiences. Now, here's something even deeper that most people don't realize. The patterns that you're stuck in, the emotional loops, the survival wiring, it doesn't always start with you, you know. Modern biology and ancient wisdom both point to something called morphogenic resonance. This is the idea that trauma, stress response, and emotional imprints aren't just personal. They're passed down through the lineage. You see, energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transferred or transformed. This is universal law, which remains unresolved stress from your parents, grandparents, even great-grandparents, could be echoing through your nervous system right now. It gets passed down generation to generation until finally someone resolves it. Now, every time you experience that stress-related emotion, your brain releases neuropeptides, chemical messengers that travel through your body and bind specific receptors. And over time, these receptors build a kind of emotional muscle memory in your fascia, your posture, your breath, organs, even your immune system. This isn't trauma in the way we think about it. It's survival patterning. So when something overwhelms you, your nervous system stores it, not as a thought, but as a tension in your body. That tight chest, that reactive loop. In science, these things are called somatic imprints. You're not overreacting in the present moment. You're reliving from your subconscious. Your subconscious is a database, a memory bank. And so that feeling that seems too much for the moment, it's not always about the moment. It's not always about now. You're being activated by new triggers, but responding from old patterning. And until you identify it and heal it, it's going to keep recycling through your body, because the universal law of harmony decrees that trauma seeks to be resolved. This is why somatic work is so important. Talk therapy can't reach what the body holds, you see. Words are upstairs, but pain is stored downstairs in the fascia, in the breath, in the gut. Now here's the thing. To release the emotional muscle memory, you do not have to relive that old story. In fact, the more you revisit the old story, the more your brain is going to wire it in. Every time you rehash it, replay it, even talk about it in the same emotional state, you're not healing it, you're reinforcing it. You're chemically strengthening that very pattern that you're trying to disrupt. This is why traditional talk therapy, while very helpful for giving you insights, can sometimes cement the pattern if it keeps you looping in the same feelings. Instead, the best practice is to observe the body sensation in silence, without reacting to them, simply observing them. This is why meditation, mindfulness, stillness, sacred silence is so important, because when you stop reacting or reenacting, you stop feeding the cycle of suffering. That's the actual revolution. Not fixing your thoughts, not fixing the world, but resolving the knots that are in your nervous system. And so, instead of rehashing that old story, we give the body a new emotional imprint. Your nervous system is not the enemy, but it needs your discipline, because your nervous system remembers what your mind forgets. Every unprocessed emotion, every reaction you push down, they don't disappear. They become patterns. And the fastest way to fix this is through what we call heart-brain coherence. Here's the science. Your heart has its own nervous system with over 40,000 neurons, and it sends more signals to your brain than the brain sends to it. By the way, heart coherence isn't just a nice theory. The Heart Math Institute documented that when your heart rhythm is smooth and coherent, which happens naturally during states of appreciation, compassion, gratitude, and care, it sends signals to your brain that literally changes your neural functioning. The brain waves synchronize, stress hormones decrease, and regenerative hormones increase. In layman terms, these elevated emotions, compassion, gratitude, appreciation, and care, they produce a coherent rhythm. And that coherent rhythm signals to the brain, the trauma is over, the thread is gone, you can come back online now. This single shift brings your entire system back to its baseline, back to homeostasis. It resets the brain back to square one and opens the door for new wiring. Here's a short 90-second coherence practice that you can use. Place your hand over your heart. I want you to breathe into your heart. Close your eyes and breathe into your heart. Touch your heart. Now, as you breathe into your heart, think of someone or something that you are so grateful for. Someone or something that you're deeply appreciative of. Someone or something you'd care deeply about and have a great sense of compassion for. It may be a pet, a loved one, a beautiful moment. Breathe that through your heart. Really feel it. Feel it in your heart. Feel your heart expand with these emotions. Compassion, care, appreciation, gratitude. Breathe slowly, deeply, feeling this, feeling this. Can you feel what's happening right now? Well, this simple exercise is changing your heart rate variability, which sends a signal of safety to your brain. Also, these are the 4 elevated emotions that induce a gamma brainwave frequency. Gamma is the wave of intuition. Pretty cool, huh? So just 5 minutes of coherent breathing and gratitude can increase your IgA, your immune defense hormone, by up to 50%. It's huge, 50%. In 2018, a study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine showed that just 6 weeks of regular heart coherence practice reduced cortisol levels by 23% and increased DHEA, a regenerative hormone, by 100% in the participants. So this isn't just feeling better stuff. This is a measurable change in your biological markers of stress. It proves something essential, that you don't need circumstances to feel safe. You need a new signal. Your body is so objective that when it feels gratitude, it actually believes that it's living in a safe, nurturing environment. Your gut comes back online. You start producing globulins, the proteins that fight inflammation and build immunity, and your biology shifts from defense to growth, from breakdown to repair, from survival to creation. Let me say that again. It shifts from survival to creation. Mark, a high-powered attorney, came to me with crippling anxiety. He practiced this coherence technique for 5 minutes, 3 times a day. And within 2 weeks, he noticed that he wasn't waking up with a racing heart anymore. By week 4, he handled a major court case with calm presence that shocked all of his colleagues. This wasn't a personality implant. It was his nervous system finding a new baseline. This is the paradox that we talked about earlier. Creation requires being in the unknown. It requires you to be open to possibility. And the moment you step into that, you're going to experience withdrawal symptoms from these familiar patterns. Your body's going to say, where's the cortisol? Where's the chaos? They're just signs that you're changing. And when your system begins to regulate, you're going to notice subtle shifts. Colors will look more vibrant. Your sense of humor returns. You'll find yourself taking deeper breaths more often and more naturally. Sleep becomes restorative rather than elusive. Food tastes more delicious. Now, these aren't random improvements. They're signs that your nervous system is coming back online. And that change doesn't just happen in your mind. It happens in your blood chemistry, in your brain waves, in your immune system, in your heart rate variability, and ultimately in your identity. Because each time you elevate your state and you breathe in these new emotions and you walk down that very different trail, you're killing the old self. You're bringing your new self online. And so if you're asking yourself right now, does she mean killing myself in the metaphorical sense? Of course not. Of course I don't. You're killing yourself emotionally, chemically, neurologically, biologically, genetically. There's going to be a biological death of the old self, and it's okay. Now, if you're still with me, nod and say, yes, I'm still with you, Pauline. So we've gone through why you've been stuck. You now understand the body's chemistry. You know how stress hijacks your identity and how your system was trained to survive and not thrive. You've learned how to start influencing that system from the bottom up. But here's where it gets really exciting. Once you regulate your body, once the old wiring starts to dissolve, you're no longer chained to your past self. You're free to begin creating something new. And when I say create, I don't mean projects or goals. I mean literally becoming someone new. Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what your nervous system believes is safe. And the moment your biology recognizes the new future as familiar, it's going to stop rejecting it. And then it's going to start magnetizing it. It stops chasing outcomes and starts becoming the kind of person who pulls the opportunities in. Here's a simple equation that represents this process. A clear intention plus an elevated emotion equals a coherent signal. When your thoughts and your feelings aligned, you broadcast a very clear frequency that the world can respond to. And this is why transformation can start to feel effortless because you're now in a coherent state, because you're no longer sending mixed signals. Remember that powerful principle we talked about earlier, where your brain doesn't know the difference between a real event and one you vividly imagine with emotion? Well, if you rehearse a version of your future self with enough sensory detail and emotional charge, your body truly believes then that it's happening right now. And then it begins to biologically adapt to that new belief. This is the essence of my Soulmatic work. You stop mentally repeating the past and you start emotionally rehearsing the future. You practice walking, breathing, and feeling like the version of you who's already there. Let's try a little something called future self breathing together. I want you to close your eyes. Breathe into your heart. Imagine that version of you that's already achieved what you're working towards. How do they sit? How do they breathe? What's the expression on their face? Now I want you to adjust your posture to match theirs. I want you to start breathing how they're going to breathe. I want you to start feeling what they're going to feel. We're not pretending here, guys. We're literally giving your nervous system a new template. How do they start their day? What do they say yes to? What do they say no to? What emotional state are they living in? Do they lead with force? Do they attract with resonance? You see, the more you rehearse that version of you, the more your system wires your biology to embody it, because again, your body isn't logical, it's chemical. So if you want a new result, you can't just want it. You have to become the person who already has it. This is about energetically stepping into your future self with such conviction that your cells begin to reorganize around this new frequency. In shamanic terms, which is, by the way, really indigenous quantum physics, what you're really doing is you're retrieving parts of yourself from this future timeline and you're integrating them into your present moment's consciousness. When Lisa, a creative director, began embodying her future self, the shifts were very subtle, but very profound. Her emails became shorter and more direct. She stopped over-explaining herself in meetings. She paused before responding to crises. These weren't strategies that she was forcing. They emerged naturally as her system recognized the new identity as safe. Now, let me break this down even more and stay with me here. Let's talk about the quantum field. And by the way, that's what spirituality is, right? Physics and quantum physics that simply has yet to be explained. And so I want you to view this from a place of science. Think Avengers from the Marvel Universe. When physicists talk about the quantum field, they're referring to the foundational level of reality where everything exists as possibility before it becomes physical. Ancient shamans called this the spirit world or the realm of potential. It's a different language, but the same understanding. And as I mentioned before, shamanic cosmology is essentially indigenous quantum physics. Now, I know this sounds a little bit abstract, but think of it like this. Before your iPhone was an iPhone, it was simply a design, right? Before that, it was an idea. And before that, it was just a possibility in the field. The same applies to that version of you that you're becoming. Before anything becomes a physical thing, it exists as energy, idea, information. It's basic physics. Everything around you, the chair you're sitting on, the phone in your hand, the cells in your body, all of it was energy before it became matter. Now, bear with me here. Most of us live in time-space reality. We believe that creating change takes time and that events occur in linear sequence. But when you enter what's known as space-time, that coherent state that we discussed earlier, you step outside of linear time. Now, your future already exists as potential energy in the quantum field. Your job isn't to make it happen through force. Your job is to match your energy to what already exists as possibility. So now, when we talk about transformation, what we're really talking about here is shifting that information that you are broadcasting. Just like a radio station, what frequency are you broadcasting? Because your thoughts, they're electric. Your emotions, they're magnetic. And together they form an electromagnetic signal. That signal either matches your desired future or repels it. In shamanic terms, we might say you're crafting a new song, one that resonates with your reality that you wish to create. See, the human voice carries something no other instrument does in its vibration. It carries consciousness. So when you speak to your subconscious, when you sing or you even think with a clear intention and an elevated emotion, you're sending ripples, you're sending signals through the quantum field. And so the power of pure sound builds character around the string of your soul. And each person can be defined in terms of a vibrational tone, merging with others into chords, creating greater harmony, or merging into the one note of all creation, which is the frequency and vibration of love. Now, if you're sending out scrambled signals, one that says, I want peace, but my body is radiating stress, or I want love, but you feel unworthy every time you're alone, then the signal gets scrambled. There is no coherence. Scrambled signals don't magnetize much at all, right? In fact, the only thing ever worth scrambling is eggs. Now, here's where shamanic wisdom and quantum science intersect so beautifully. Ancient cultures understood what quantum physicists are now proving, that energy follows intention and attention. When you stop chasing and you start embodying, the universe responds very differently to you. Napoleon Hill once said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. You'll become the person who resonates with the result you want before it arrives. When you stop chasing, things start to show up. And this happens across all areas of your life. And it's almost comical how it works. Think about in dating. The moment someone stops desperately swiping and messaging, when they genuinely start enjoying their own company and feeling complete within themselves, suddenly potential partners appear everywhere. It's like they've been there all along, but just waiting for you to shift your energy from neediness to being available now for deep connection. In business, entrepreneurs chase clients for months with zero traction. Then they shift to becoming the expert who embodies value, focusing entirely on service rather than sales. And then within weeks, their inbox is full of people asking to work with them because the smell of desperation is gone and it's replaced by magnetic resonance. With health goals, people often push and restrict and renounce and they battle with their bodies. But those who experience lasting transformation, they stop fighting. They start treating their body as if it's already healthy. They move because it feels good, not because it's punishing. They eat nourishing food out of respect for their bodies, and their metabolism responds accordingly, not because they forced it, but because they changed the conversation. With creative projects, I've watched writers and artists struggle with blocks when they're chasing inspiration or chasing validation. But when they start creating from a place of play and presence rather than from outcome, the ideas flow and the work becomes effortless. Even with healing, I've witnessed people fighting their symptoms and battling their bodies for years. But those who experience lasting transformation, they address the resistance and they stop fighting. They start treating their bodies as if it is already whole. They embrace their health as a present reality rather than a distant goal. And so their biology responds accordingly, not because they forced it, but because they changed the conversation at a cellular level. Is this landing, guys? Does this all make sense? Yes, yes. Nod your head. Yes, yes. Okay, great. So we do the work of first mentally rehearsing our future selves. And then comes the critical moment. Surrender. Now, this isn't about giving up. It's about releasing attachment to exactly how and when your transformation will manifest. And this surrender, it starts to activate parts of the brain associated with receptivity and allows your nervous system to recognize it at a higher level. And this goes beyond visualization or positive thinking. This is about aligning your three brains: your thinking brain, your emotional brain, and your subconscious brain with your soul's energy. Because when all of these aspects of you are coherent, magic happens. Not metaphorical magic, but literal quantum shifts in your reality. Now, if this still sounds a little abstract, let me give you another analogy. Have you seen the movie The Matrix? I think most people have, and if you haven't, I highly recommend it. The quantum scientists who I learned from, they say that The Matrix isn't just a movie, it's actually a documentary. Well, in The Matrix, there's this moment where the lead character, Neo, realizes the rules of reality only exist because he believes that they exist. And once he changes what he believes, he changes what is possible. He stops reacting to the environment and he starts generating reality from within. Now, I'm not saying you're going to bend spoons and dodge bullets, but you will move differently because you will be different. That's the sort of shift that I'm talking about. You'll have unplugged from your past identity and you start walking through life as the version of you that your biology already recognizes as real. Why? Because you've been rehearsing it. This is the essence of shamanic transformation, recognizing that the world around you is responsive to your internal state. As above, so below, as within, so without. So when you change at the level of energy and information, the physical world around you has no choice but to reorganize around your new frequency. This isn't pretending, it's biological rehearsal. It's acting out the future self in the present moment until your cells catch up, until your immune system stabilizes, your hormones shift, your reactions change, and your personality, your personal reality, upgrades to match it. Now, I want to acknowledge something very important. There's a part of you that may be terrified of this transformation. Your current reality, even if it's exhausting you, it's going to feel safe to your nervous system. Why? Because it's predictable. It's what makes sense to you. So as you begin to embody this new version of yourself, expect resistance. Expect your body to protest. Know that it isn't failure. It's actually confirmation that real change is happening. Now, this usually frightens a lot of people because they're going to ask, who will I be if I let that old me go? It's a legitimate concern, I know. And the answer is this: you'll be the person you were always meant to be before the world taught you otherwise. You'll be reconnecting with your true essence. You're not becoming someone new. This isn't about adding something to yourself. It's about removing what was never truly you. But in order to become that person, there's going to be a biological death of the old self, chemically, emotionally, neurologically, even genetically, because you're changing what your cells used to believe about you. Your breath is going to change. Your thoughts are going to change. Your posture, your pace, your boundaries, your creativity, it's all going to change. In shamanic traditions, this is often symbolized as a death, a rebirthing process. The old identity must die for the new one to emerge, you see. So it's not just psychological. It's a literal reconfiguration of your energy field, which then informs your biology. So when shamans talk about walking between worlds, what they're really describing is this exact process. Being able to access both the world of form, which is your current reality, and the world of energy, which is your future potential. That's what makes transformation possible at a level beyond what conventional approaches can even achieve. And so in the Matrix, when Neo first attempts to jump between buildings, he falls, right? Not because he couldn't make the jump physically, but because his mind couldn't accept the new reality. And this is what happens when we first attempt to live as our future self. You're going to be tempted to fall back into the old patterns because your biology hasn't fully accepted the upgrade yet. But with consistent practice, with consistent rehearsal, just like Neo, suddenly the impossible becomes natural. This is what true embodiment looks like. It's not about being perfect. It's about becoming consistent with your future. So if the past self used to spiral when things became uncertain, the new self breathes deeper. If the old self sought validation, the new self leads with self-respect. You don't become magnetic as fuck by doing more. You become magnetic by being coherent, by becoming the signal you want to attract. And when your biology recognizes that this new signal is safe, that's when the quantum field starts to respond to your new self, not with magic, not with mystery, but with opportunity. And then you're not going to be chasing anymore. You're going to be choosing. You're not the arrow shooting at the targets. You are the target that attracts the arrows. Now, if you are still with me after all of that, if all of that made sense, nod, fist pump, and say, yes, 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 yes. Now, we're nearing the end of this masterclass, and I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for staying present. Thank you for being open to observing a new way forward. Today was all about combining ancient wisdom with modern science. What did we explore? We explored why change feels so hard, even when you want it so badly. We looked at how stress becomes chemically addictive and loops through your biology, how your nervous system holds onto old identities even when your mind has moved on and wants to move on. We looked at why you have 3 brains, thinking, emotional, and subconscious, that need to work in harmony. And we looked at why real transformation must happen from the bottom up through regulation, coherence, and this state-dependent healing. We also touched on the electric nature of thought, the magnetic force of emotion, how a clear intention and an elevated emotion creates a coherent signal, and how your body is broadcasting signals that shape your reality. We've talked about why your body gets stuck in stress cycles and how heart coherence can reset your biology. We talked about how embodying your future self can create lasting transformations. Now, these principles alone, applied consistently, they create significant change. And change beyond just the theory. You now have some great tools and strategies that you can use right away to reset your nervous system, interrupt the old wiring, and start stepping into the next best version of you. Now, this may be exactly what you needed. You'll take this information, you'll run with it, and you'll start applying it on your own. And I wish you the very best of luck by doing all of that. I wish you well. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, this makes so much sense, Pauline, but I know myself. I don't want to do it alone. I want support. I want structure. I want guidance. I want to collapse time. Well, before I tell you about the structured path, I want to share with you what Jennifer, a participant from a previous cohort, had to say. She said, I tried everything: therapy, medication, meditation apps, retreats. Nothing stuck until I did Numinous. For the first time, I understood why I kept falling back into the same patterns, and more importantly, how to actually change it at the root. So if that's you, I'll be doing a quick speed through Numinous, my 90-day immersive program, where I go much deeper into everything that we touched on today, and in a way that's guided, supported, and specifically sequenced for lasting change. What I'm about to share isn't for everyone, and that's okay. This is an invitation. It's not a prescription, because only you know what level of support that you need right now. Now, remember the heads up that I gave you at the beginning of the masterclass? That I'd introduce my hybrid 3-month program, Numinous, transformational growth strategies for the spiritual entrepreneur? Well, it's that time. So what is Numinous? Numinous isn't a coaching program. It's not a self-help course. It's not a binge the video content and hope for the best kind of thing. It's a fully immersive 90-day 3-in-1 transformation for high performers who are ready to heal from the inside out, who are ready to rewire their nervous system, their emotions, their subconscious, and change their identity for good. It's the complete application of what you've learnt here today. And more importantly, it's a transformation that actually sticks. All right, let's break down what is actually inside Numinous. It's a biology-first transformation container that is built to regulate your nervous system, upgrade your subconscious patterns, and align your emotional baseline with the future that you're meant to live. So here's exactly what you'll be getting inside. Now, as we covered earlier, if you're running on a dysregulated system, your body will always win, which is why Numinous focuses heavily on training your body to feel safe in stillness and feel powerful in the unknown. I've spent over 2 decades refining this process, and the reason it works so well is because it doesn't just tackle one level of change, it hammers all 3: mind, body, and soul. You know how it goes. If you want to enjoy the health benefits of an apple, you can't just take one bite. You have to eat the whole thing. You can't microdose transformation, so to speak. Now, this is achieved through my unique S.S method: Somatic, Somatic, and Soulmatic. 1, Somatic, the language of meaning. It's connected with the meaning of your words. You've got to understand the words first. I take all the esoteric, mysterious, and challenging concepts that currently live in the word salad clouds, and I make them super easy for you to understand. I make them simple and straightforward. I teach the theory, the insights, the human behavior, the psychology, the human nature, and I speak it and teach it with resonance. You'll uncover the reframe, the unconscious belief stories and identities that have been running your life beneath the surface. We'll uncover the unconscious stories that you've been living in. We'll uncover why you react the way you do. Where did those beliefs come from? What's the narrative that's running your life? We use advanced NLP, identity mapping, and awareness frameworks to shift your why behind your patterns so that we can upgrade the code that you are running. 2, the somatic, the language of the body. Through movement, breath, regulation practices, you'll train your body to release the past and feel safe in the calm. I will help you to repattern the patterns and activate the potential in your body's cells. Your body, your vehicle, it carries emotions, it carries history, memories, stories. I'll help you to break it up, release it, and transmute it in so many ways. Through breathwork, meditation, shamanic activations, so that you can embody change at a cellular level. It's essential to learn how to reduce the dissonance that makes up your energy field so that you can heal your body and amplify your magnetism. We're going to reset your nervous system, not just intellectually, but biologically. You're going to learn how to regulate your state in 90 seconds or less, how to release stored trauma and tension from your muscles, your tissues, your posture, how to shift your biochemistry on command using breath, movement, and body-first practices. Because if you want to feel calm, if you want to feel connected, grounded, magnetic, and confident, your body needs to learn that state as its new normal. And 3, the Soulmatic, the language of your future. We instill a new identity so deeply that your nervous system adopts it as the familiar so that you stop reverting back. This is where we install your next identity, your future self. Understanding the soul work and shamanic practices that consolidate, integrate, and accelerate all of this information into your body cells so that you can embody on a cellular level versus just learning it from a surface pedestrian state of mind. We're talking theta state guided meditations that literally reprogram the subconscious. We're talking daily embodiment practices to shift your emotional baseline, heart-brain coherence techniques to bring your biology into alignment with your vision, morning practice frameworks to set your state before your day even begins, and deep rehearsal work to make your future self so familiar that your body stops rejecting it. Because when you live your life as if you're already that version of you, your system catches up. It catches up fast. I run Numinous in small cohorts, meaning you won't be doing this alone. You'll be surrounded by about 14, 15 other high performers, leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, creators, visionaries, all who are going through this same recalibration. And just like disease and infection spread, so too can healing, vitality, and coherence. When one person in the group experiences a shift, often so does everybody else. It's one of those huge benefits of transformational group training. Now, let's talk about exactly what you'll get inside of Numinous. Weekly live sessions with me. Part training, part coaching, part nervous system upgrades. You'll get somatic practices delivered daily in short, actionable, and repeatable steps. You get guided meditations and subconscious rewiring trackers to use throughout your week, breath work, movement, integration protocols, all to instill this new emotional state. You get a private community for accountability, connection, and celebration. And you get direct WhatsApp access to me. This gives you a step-by-step scaffolding, so every week builds on the last. Every week, you'll join me live for transformational coaching and real-time recalibration of your nervous system. Now, these aren't Zoom lectures. They're part deep coaching, part ceremony, part energy shift. We'll dismantle patterns in real time. We'll regulate your state and help your biology lock in a new baseline of power and presence. You'll also get one-on-one coaching with me. You'll have a dedicated one-on-one coaching call with me. It's a chance to go deeper, to address personal challenges and refine your process at an even more intimate level. Immediately after our coaching sessions, you'll experience my live guided shamanic activations. This is where the magic happens, designed to repattern the subconscious, regulate your biology, and lock in this new identity that we're installing. And is that all you get? Of course not. You also get the full Numinous methodology and S.S framework. This is the spine of the program, the 3-phase transformational journey. First month is all about power, where we reset the biology and emotional baseline. Second month is influence, where we rewire the subconscious, identity loops, emotional patterning. Third month, magnetic as fuck, where you embody your future self at a cellular level, all guided by my S.S method. As well, you get lifetime access to my shamanic activation recordings. You get lifetime access to all 15 potent shamanic activations, fully edited and ready for you to revisit anytime you need recalibration. Because transformation isn't a one-time event. It's a living system you need to reconnect with again and again and again. And did I mention that you get speed dial access to me via WhatsApp? I already have, right? I'm not so easily accessible, you see. But for my Numinous clients, I definitely am. You'll get direct WhatsApp access to me throughout the 90 days. And this isn't a support team. It's not a I'll get back to you in 70 hours via email kind of thing. It's actually me. I'm in your corner. When something big comes up emotionally, spiritually, strategically, you can reach out and I'll be there. This proximity makes the difference between momentary insight and integrated transformation. And finally, you're part of a private, high-performing cohort. This is what you get access to. You'll be placed inside a private group of 14 or 15 other high-performing individuals, leaders, creatives, executives, change makers. It's not Facebook spam groups. It's a true circle of resonance where growth becomes inevitable just by proximity. Now let's talk about what all of this actually creates for you in real life. Because when you regulate your nervous system, when you rewire your subconscious, when you embody your next evolution, you don't just feel a little better. You start to experience tangible life-changing outcomes like better physical health and longevity, a deeper, more vibrant sex life with vitality that actually lasts, stronger connection with your children, spouse, friends, and clients, increased magnetism and natural charisma, no trying required, more aligned opportunities for business, income, and abundance. You experience greater personal freedom and an expansive worldview. And more importantly, more joy, more bliss, more inner peace by default and not by force. Because when you reset your internal state, the external world rearranges itself to match. Now, Numinous isn't something that you can just buy now on a checkout page. It's by application only. Why? Because I want to make sure that we're a good fit, that I'm the right guide for you, and that I can genuinely get you the result that you're after. So whether you choose to continue with this journey with me, or you'd like to just take the tools and information you've learned during this masterclass and you simply want to apply them on your own terms, remember this: your nervous system can change. Your emotional baseline can reset. Your future self is waiting. The only question is, how will you bridge the gap between who you are now and who you are destined to become? So if this all resonates, if your nervous system is screaming hell yes at you, the next step is simple. Book a free call with me. Let's have a connection call. Let's chat about where you are right now. I'll answer any questions you might have. And if we are a good match, I'll get you on board with the next cohort. I promise you, your life will change. Hello again. I hope you enjoyed the masterclass. Now, if the last 80 minutes ignited something in you, the next step is a small one. Details for my Transformational Numinous program is in the description below. Read it slowly, take your time. And if you want to connect with me to see how we can share the next step of our journey together, the book a call button is at the bottom of the page. Or if you want to get there faster, jump onto Instagram and DM me the word ready, and I will send you the concise one sheet. Okay, blessings to you with love and thank you.